2, 1.
Hey guys, welcome to lesson number 6. We are focused on the Stonewall riots for today. So follow along with me on your notes and we'll get going. The topics we're going to cover, we'll discuss what the difference is between a riot and a protest. We'll use the Stonewall riots as our example of the former. After that, we'll talk briefly about the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and we'll wrap up with the American Indian movement. So this is an image of a nonviolent protest. You'll probably recognize this as the March on Washington led by Martin Luther King. And so here we see a lot of people, and they've assembled, and just by being present and being visible, they were able to do an amazing job advocating for the issues that they care about. You can see from their posters, the people who marched on Washington that day, marching for a number of reasons. They're looking for schools to integrate, recognizing how terrible segregation is. We want to end all bias and discrimination now. And voting rights, right? Voting rights now, not tomorrow, but this needs to happen and change right now. So these are a group of people, and they are protesting what they believe in, but they're doing so in a nonviolent form. There's nothing aggressive, or there's nothing being broken, or no harm to anybody is happening in this crowd. A riot looks a little different. This is a famous photo from Ferguson after the unarmed black man was shot and killed by a police officer in Missouri. This is a riot. This is a picture of a riot that happened in the evenings afterwards. So we're talking about things that are more violent, public disturbances against authority. So for example, against the government. So riots look a little bit more like property damage, like people fighting, perhaps people throwing fire. That's what we think of when we think of a riot. And so the scene for the riot we're going to talk about in this video is a bar called the Stonewall Inn. And this was a gay bar owned actually by the mafia in New York City. And the Stonewall was often raided by police officers. It was really common because these guys didn't have a liquor license. They were not supposed to be a bar. It was really common for them to be dropped in by police officers who would then like arrest people or at least like shut down the bar for the evening. And so one night in June of 1969, the police were raiding Stonewall. And what they were doing was they were looking for people who were gender nonconforming. Because at the time, it was actually totally illegal to be what we'd call gender nonconforming in New York City. So by that, I mean people who maybe dressed up in drag or dressing up as the opposite gender. So, for example, if you're a woman and you're wearing masculine clothing, you're wearing pants and other items, that could be dressed up in drag. And that is illegal at this time. So you can see from this photograph, this is someone who is being arrested. Looks like they're fighting back, possibly, but they're certainly outnumbered. And so the police are starting to arrest people, and they're starting to treat people very poorly, and especially treating transgender people very poorly. They would basically identify people they thought were transgender, who did not align with the gender assigned to them at birth, and they were like forcing them to go through strip searches to make sure like that their ID, like the sex on their ID, matched what they saw in front of them. And what we know from that night is finally there is a breaking point reached. We don't know who threw the first brick, but we do know that was somebody in the gay bar that evening who finally had enough, threw some rocks or a brick at the cops, and it started the first night of rioting where these people were fighting back. Eventually the cops left, but they returned the next evening, but so did other people in the gay community, and it started being this very physical altercation, and that is the Stonewall riots. That is a violent protest led by the transgender community, the gay and lesbian people as well, to the raid of the Stonewall Inn by the cops that night. So its impact, this is considered to be one of the key events in the LGBT Cue civil rights movement. It's not the only time people fought back, but it is a notable event in the 60s where gay rights started to gain some momentum. And I do have this as well hanging in the classroom. If you look where we turn in work, I've got this lithograph posted as well. You can take a deeper look at it if you'd like. So transitioning here, there's another example of riots we should talk about. That is the riots that happened after the assassination and murder of Martin Luther King Jr. So Martin Luther King is the, bell, sorry guys. Can't escape the bell even in the video. Martin Luther King is the face of the civil rights movement. He is murdered by a white man while he's sitting on his balcony in a hotel. In the evenings that followed, right, people take this very hard. He is the face of this movement. He represents all of the progress being made. And of course, his life is cut short. And so in cities all across the world, in the US and hundreds of cities, civil unrest, racial tension reach an all-time high and things turn violent. There are riots in major cities. This is, I believe, Chicago, showing you some of the buildings on fire, much more property damage, as well as looting, people stealing from businesses is happening at this time as well. So we'll finish up by talking about the American Indian Movement, or AIM. During the 1960s and 70s, we do see Native Americans campaigning for their civil rights as well. And there's many groups that have many different wants and needs, but the key ones are treaty rights. There's a long history in this country of ignoring the treaties that we formed with Native American tribes. Other tribes are concerned with unemployment and poverty and police brutality that they see in their communities. And others are wanting to preserve and show off the indigenous cultures as well. But I want to finish with this one. This was not a movement of AIM, but it's related. The occupation of Alcatraz was when Native Americans protested the U.S. occupation of Alcatraz Island because that was originally land promised to the Navajo tribe years and years ago. So a number of people from many tribes were able to actually occupy Alcatraz for 19 months. It was empty at the time, but they were able to sail there, set up camp, have food lifted in, and take a stand. So you can see from the images here and all the graffiti, right, what they're talking about, what they're looking to get back, just showing, hey, you are on Indian land. This is not United States territory. It wasn't supposed to be. And you can see this sign graffitied as well. And something to think about, just to end the video, is Native Americans did offer to buy Alcatraz from the government. They offered to buy Alcatraz for $24 in glass beads and red cloth. I know that sounds really strange, but it is historically significant because this is what Native Americans received for the island of Manhattan back in 1626. In 1626, they sell the land that is now Manhattan to white people for $24, and it is worth billions today. So we're going to finish up that video. We talked about some of the more aggressive movements and riots of the 1960s and 70s. You're going to summarize what you just learned in your notes. Think to yourself, what are those key things that you've learned today? And as usual, you can keep listening or you can work on a project.